My name is Kayla Garriott and I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. From the time that I was 10 until I was 17, my biological father forced me to perform sexual acts, later drugged and raped me in a hotel room, and then was later found guilty on a number of accounts for gross sexual assault and is currently serving time in a Maine state prison. After this, I started Breathe the Air, a nonprofit organization where AIR stands for abuse, incest, and rape. I really wanted to start this organization to encourage others to speak out. The purpose of this video today is that I wanted to give members of my nonprofit a chance to ask a survivor of childhood sexual abuse any question, even ones they may not feel comfortable asking. I wanted to provide answers to those questions in a very candid form and let them into my story, but also encourage others to come forward in hopes that we can raise further awareness towards childhood sexual abuse. Forgiveness is a hard concept for a lot of people. A lot of people feel that they have to first forgive themselves and then forgive their abuser in order to move on from their abuse. And that works for some people, but for me, I forgave myself for feeling guilty, and then I never felt the need to forgive him. But that doesn't mean that forgiveness is crumbling or that it doesn't mean you're strong. For me, forgiving him would just be given into him, and that would be what he wants, and I no longer want to give in to that. I think for me it was all about acceptance, accepting that I was living two different lifestyles. I had this deep, dark secret that I was keeping for so long. And once that secret kind of came out into the open, I was able to accept what happened and move forward. And I was lucky enough to have a great support system with my family and just kind of keep moving forward from there. And then starting this organization, I wanted to keep moving forward and show that, once you accept what's happened, you can continue to live a life that's not defined by your past. I don't feel that you have to come out to the public and say it, but I think you need to find that one person that you truly trust in order to come forward and, take those steps of healing. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go through a prosecution or go to the police department. It just means that, once you let it go and let it come out, then you know that there's another world that you're not living inside yourself. As far as getting back at him, I feel that in some way that I've done that through the justice system in terms that he's, serving his time in a state prison. But at the same time, I know that that's never going to be enough to understand what I went through as a child. I feel that I've got back at him in the best way that I could, and that way was moving forward and not letting what he did consume me. So starting this organization was, a huge part of that. And I think moving forward and moving about my life as, not letting this define me is kind of getting back at him as much as I can, because I think he wants me to dwell in the past. For so long I felt so weak and, so guilty for what happens. And once I found, I don't even know how to put that one into words, because it's so hard to kind of find and dig down deep inside yourself to kind of come forward. And I don't even know if it was a strength or not, but I think finding my voice was the biggest thing that I could have done, even if it was just to one person at the time, and then to grow and be able to share my voice with others. The strength wasn't just within me, it was within the support system that I had. And I think once I realized that everything that happened to me wasn't my fault, then I could move forward. And I think that's the biggest thing, was that I had to let that guilt go. And I encourage, my mom to let that guilt go. And I encourage the people around me who continue to feel that guilt and just let it go. Because once you do that, then you're no longer being defined by what happened. You're just pushing forward to what could happen or what will happen. The whole idea around childhood sexual abuse is that, you're groomed and you're coerced and you're forced to do things that you have no control over, even if you don't know what you're doing. And for a large part of my life, I lost all that control. And I remember the day that I read a letter to my dad on the sentencing that told him that, he no longer controlled my life and that he no longer had a daughter. And now I don't let what he did define me. I choose what I want to do, and this just happens to be it. For me, it's something that's always going to live with me. There's good days and bad days, there's good nights and bad nights, but at the end of the day, I don't think about what happened to me as a child every single time. There's times where I have to force myself to remember, to know that it's still real for when those bad days do come around. I lived in such darkness for so long that, when I look back at that life, I can't ever imagine what I went through now, because I've, managed to adapt and continue moving forward with what happened. I hope that after watching this video, or if you've stumbled across this video and you took the time out to watch it, that you have a better idea of what happens and what goes through somebody's mind who is a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. Not to say that every person is going to have the same point of view and that every story is different, but every story matters. And if we can just continue to share our voices and bring that awareness and kind of stop that silence altogether, would be what I hope comes from this.